Every decade has its giants, the names everyone remembers, whose hits get replayed at every wedding and cookout. But the 1970s also produced something else. Songs that hit number one, sold 1 million copies, defined an entire summer, and then vanished, along with the artists who made them.
I feel myself sinking fast.
These are 10 forgotten R&B one-hit wonders from the 1970s. Some of these artists never charted again. Others tried for years and could never recapture the lightning. All of them left behind a song that still gets people up and dancing, even if most people couldn't tell you who's actually singing it. This is Inside the Pop. Let's count them down. Number 10, Jean Knight, Mr. Big Stuff, 1971.
All those fancy clothes. Oh, yeah.
Before she was a chart-topping soul singer, Jean Knight worked as a baker at Loyola University in New Orleans. She'd been trying to break through for years without much luck, until producer Wardell Kazurg brought her to a session at Malaco Studios in Jackson, Mississippi in 1970. According to accounts of the session, Mr. Big Stuff was recorded and reportedly nailed in a single take.
Never gonna get my love. Now because you wear.
Here's the twist. Nobody wanted it. The song was originally rejected by Stax Records and several other labels before Stax reconsidered. It took a stroke of luck, a different single recorded at the same studio, Groove Me by King Floyd, becoming an unexpected hit for Stax to remember Knight's shelved recording and finally give it a real release.
Then to be fooled around and get hurt by you.
Once it dropped, Mr. Big Stuff became a cultural phenomenon. It hit number one on the R&B chart, climbed to number 2 on the pop chart, sold over 2 million copies, and earned Knight a Grammy nomination for Best R&B Vocal Performance. She lost that Grammy to Aretha Franklin.
You haven't learned. It's the big stuff. Tell me.
Knight would chart a couple more times, but nothing close to that scale. She spent the rest of her career on the strength of one song, touring well into her 70s, still performing Mr. Big Stuff for audiences who knew every word, right up until her death in 2023. Number 9, Timmy Thomas, Why Can't We Live Together, 1972. Timmy Thomas was a working keyboardist who'd spent years playing behind other artists in jazz and soul bands. One evening in Miami, sitting at home before a gig, he watched a news broadcast reporting the latest casualty numbers from Vietnam. He later recalled thinking, "What? You mean that many mothers' children died today? In a war that we can't come to the table and sit down and talk about this?" That question became the song's title on the spot. What makes the recording remarkable isn't just the message, it's the sound. Thomas was the sole performer on the track, playing organ over a stark drum machine pattern, and the recording is historically considered the first major hit built entirely around a rhythm machine instead of a live drummer. The title track alone reportedly took about 15 minutes to record, start to finish.
Together.
It became a massive hit, reaching number 3 on the pop chart and topping the R&B chart, eventually selling over 1 million copies. But Thomas never had another song reach that level again. R&B chart placements followed, but no second crossover smash.
Everybody wants to live.
Decades later, the song found new life when Drake sampled its melody for Hotline Bling, introducing Timmy Thomas's stark, mournful hit to a generation who had no idea its roots stretched back to a news broadcast in 1972. Number 8, The Persuaders, Thin Line Between Love and Hate, 1971. Before they were the Persuaders, this New York vocal group went through one of the stranger detours in R&B history. In the late 1960s, a shady promoter lured them to England and had them impersonate a completely different group, the Showstoppers, who'd had a UK hit the Persuaders had nothing to do with. After that fell apart, they regrouped under a new name and signed with Atlantic Records. Their breakout single told a dark, cautionary story. A man who keeps coming home late to his patient wife one too many times until the song's bridge reveals he's ended up in a hospital, bandaged head to foot. It's a startling narrative for a smooth soul ballad, written by the Poindexter brothers with Robert Poindexter's wife, Jackie Members. The song spent 2 weeks at #1 on the R&B chart and reached the Pop Top 20, going gold. The Persuaders scored one more modest Top 40 hit 2 years later, but nothing that matched the scale of their breakout single. The song had an unlikely second act over a decade later when the Pretenders covered it in 1984, flipping the perspective to the wife's point of view and introduced the story to an entirely new rock audience who likely never knew its R&B origins. Number 7, William DeVaughn, Be Thankful for What You Got, 1974. William DeVaughn wasn't a professional musician. When he wrote this song, he was a drafting technician for the federal government who sang part-time, and he originally titled the track, A Cadillac Don't Come Easy. He spent $900 of his own money to get a demo recorded under a development deal with a Philadelphia production house. That demo eventually landed at Sigma Sound Studios, the legendary home of Philadelphia soul, where producer John Davis built it into the smooth, sunlit arrangement that became the finished record featuring an array of musicians from the celebrated MFSB studio group. Its opening line about a great big Cadillac and diamond in the back, sunroof top, became one of the most quoted lyrics in soul music. Though you may not drive. Released in spring 1974, it hit #1 on the R&B chart and #4 on the pop chart, eventually selling nearly 2 million copies and later landing on Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. The message was so universally embraced, it became a staple on gospel radio, not just R&B stations. DeVaughn never had another hit of any significance. The government drafting technician who spent $900 on a demo ended up with one of the most enduring soul anthems of the decade, and then quietly returned to relative obscurity. Number 6, Blue Magic, Sideshow, 1974. Blue Magic didn't start as Blue Magic. The group began as a vocal act called Shades of Love, which auditioned for a Philadelphia production company, but was judged to be missing a standout lead singer. Producers paired them with singer-songwriter Ted Mills and rebranded the group entirely. Their signature song used an unusual metaphor. The lyrics compare a painful relationship to a circus sideshow, where one partner feels like an undervalued attraction, desperately seeking recognition from the more prominent main show. The track opens with a theatrical flourish, a slowed-down quote of the classical piece, Entrance of the Gladiators, while a group member performs a Carnival Barker's call, declaring, "Hurry, hurry, step right up, see the saddest show in town for only 50 cents. It became a massive hit, selling over 1 million copies and topping the R&B chart while reaching number 8 on the pop chart, earning the group a gold record. Blue Magic did chart several more times on the R&B side over the following years, but Sideshow remains the only song most people outside serious soul collectors would recognize. The Carnival Barker introduction that made the song instantly recognizable in 1974 later found new life in hip-hop, sampled decades afterward by artists introducing Blue Magic's melancholy circus metaphor to listeners who'd never heard the original. We're right at the halfway point of 10 forgotten R&B one-hit wonders from the 1970s, and there are some incredible stories still ahead. If you're the kind of music fan who wants the real history behind the songs everyone's heard but nobody remembers who made them, welcome home. Hit subscribe right now. It's free. It takes 2 seconds. Turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Now let's get back to the countdown. The top 5. Number 5, Denise LaSalle, Trapped by a Thing Called Love, 1971.
What is this man got? He makes me.
Denise LaSalle's path to a number 1 hit started with rejection. She'd signed a one-year recording contract with Chess Records, but the label never actually recorded any of her music. Rather than wait around, LaSalle and her husband Bill Jones formed their own independent production company and kept writing. The song that finally broke through was reportedly inspired directly by her own life. LaSalle has said she'd fallen in love with Bill Jones in Chicago and wanted to write a song about it, and when they recorded it in Memphis, they got the take they wanted on the very first try. Unlike most R&B artists of the era working with outside songwriters, LaSalle wrote her own material, which made Trapped by a Thing Called Love entirely her own creation, start to finish. The song shot to #1 on the R&B chart and reached number 13 on the pop chart, her only top 40 pop hit of her career, though it went gold with over 1 million copies sold. LaSalle continued recording for years afterward with modest R and B chart success, but never repeated that level of crossover fame. She later earned the title Queen of the Blues for her decades of work, but to casual pop radio listeners, she remains defined by that one crossover moment from 1971. Number 4, Vicki Sue Robinson, Turn the Beat Around, 1976. Vicki Sue Robinson came from an unlikely background for a disco soul singer. She'd already built a career as a Broadway performer, appearing in the original cast of Hair, before pivoting toward R&B and dance music in the mid-1970s. Turn the Beat Around became her defining moment, a percussion-driven single that leaned into Latin rhythm influences layered over disco production, built to fill dance floors rather than radio playlists specifically. It became a massive crossover hit, cracking the pop top 10 and becoming one of the definitive dance anthems of the era. Robinson kept recording and performing for years afterward, including work on Broadway, but never landed another hit of that magnitude on the pop charts. The song found a surprising second life in the 1990s when Gloria Estefan's cover version reintroduced it to an entirely new generation of listeners. For most casual music fans today, Turn the Beat Around exists almost entirely as an Estefan song, with few realizing the original belonged to a Broadway performer, turned one-hit R&B dance sensation 2 decades earlier. Number 3, Andrea True Connection, More, 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 1976. Andrea True's route into music was unusual, and reporters at the time made sure everyone knew it. She'd worked in adult films before pivoting to a singing career, a fact the press repeatedly brought up rather than letting her music stand on its own. She used the stage name Andrea True Connection for the project. The song itself became a massive disco soul crossover, built around a hook simple enough to dominate dance floors nationwide. And it became one of the defining disco anthems of 1976, reaching the upper tier of the pop charts on the strength of its suggestive lyrics and an irresistible beat. She did manage one further chart placement afterward, a follow-up single, NY You Got Me Dancing, reached number 27, but nothing close to the scale of her breakout hit. That makes her technically a 2-hit act rather than a strict one-hit wonder, though pop culture memory has largely flattened her career down to the one song. Decades later, More, More, More remains a fixture of disco compilations and film soundtracks, far outliving the public's memory of the woman who recorded it. Number 2, The Floaters, Float On, 1977. Few one-hit wonders have a backstory as strange as this one. Founding member James Mitchell, a former singer with the Detroit Emeralds, has said the entire idea for the song came to him in a dream. He reportedly jumped up and hummed the melody into a tape recorder so he wouldn't forget it by morning. What made the song unforgettable wasn't just the groove, it was the concept. Each member of the group introduced himself by name and zodiac sign, then described his ideal type of woman over a slow, hypnotic bass line. Group member Charles Clark later explained the thinking. Other vocal groups of the era had their own gimmicks tied to astrology, so the Floaters decided to lean fully into theirs. The song became an enormous hit, peaking at #2 on the Billboard Hot 100, reaching #1 on both the R&B chart and the UK singles chart, and staying on the chart for 16 weeks total. The Floaters never landed another top 40 pop hit again.
And if you fit that description.
Clark later reflected that the song introduced the group to the entire world. Even if the world never learned much else about them beyond their names, their star signs, and exactly the kind of woman each one was looking for. #1, 5 Stairsteps, Ooh Child, 1970. Before there was a First Family of Soul nickname attached to the Jackson 5, it belonged to a different family entirely. The 5 Stairsteps were 5 siblings from the Burke family in Chicago, Illinois, Clarence Jr., James, Dennis, and Kenneth, managed by their father, a former Chicago police detective. They got their name because their mother noticed her children lined up, looked exactly like stairsteps, arranged by age. The group had already built a career with Curtis Mayfield's label before Ooh Child came along, written and produced by Stan Vincent. According to one account, Vincent's own son later revealed the lyrics were written about him. The child in the song's comforting, hopeful lyrics was reportedly a real message from father to son. The song became their signature moment, reaching #8 on the Billboard Hot 100 and selling over 1 million copies, and it later earned a spot on Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest songs ever recorded. Worth noting, the 5 Stairsteps did chart several more times on the R&B side over the following years. So one-hit wonder applies specifically to their pop crossover. This was their only top 10 pop hit. Decades later, the song's message of hope has made it a fixture at moments of national grief and celebration alike. Still played and covered by artists who weren't even born when 5 siblings from Chicago first recorded it in the summer of 1970.